Alright guys, another quick video real quick. A couple people have had some questions about swords and folding section and problems they've had. I need to preface this with the fact that things that I do may not work for you guys. Just your mileage may vary on this. But I thought I'd show you guys how I put everything back to what I call back to home base whenever I'm setting up this fold section. Sometimes you'll have some problems that'll hang up in the fold section or get crooked in the fold section, and I was trying to explain in the comment section on the last couple of videos, and it's really hard to explain without showing you. So what I do to set everything back to home base is the first thing I want to check is to make sure that this sword is even with the outside of your fold belt, and it's also even with the edge of your belt down here. There's a little bit of room here. You can see that between the edge of the sword and the edge of this bottom belt in the fold section right here. What I like to do is I like to take these plates right here, if I can get to it. You want to make sure you have these things set up even with the frame. So these, I don't know the technical term for these plates. I call them belt guides. But you want to have these plates set to where they're even with this frame all the way down. I can get a good view of it. See how this will move back and forth? I'll set that right about there. And that goes with this one on your drive side, the second one on your drive side, this one right here. We'll make sure you have those set in. It's going to help a lot control the carton. Next thing I do, after I've checked my sword, make sure it's right beside the score. I don't know if you can see that score or not. That's the second score. The belt and the sword are even. It's going to be even all the way down this sword with that score. Now, you don't want it over the score, you'll be crushing the score. You don't want it too far away, or you're going to be rolling the score. And next thing I want to check is how tight is this sword on this carton. Alright? I usually run a carton underneath the sword, and then I'll check for tightness. I'll raise these carriers up. I'll get a carton, say down here, tear part of the carton in half, and I'll just see if I can move that carton back and forth all the way down that sword. If you struggle to move the carton down that sword, it's too tight. If it is too tight, all you do is loosen it up and raise it up until it's not too tight. The next thing that I like to do is I loosen this sword up. And the reason I do that before I tighten it back down, before I raise or lower the sword, is because when this is loose, this sword can move up and down. You can move it up and down. What you don't want is for the sword to be popped up in the front when you tighten everything down. So leave that sword loose so it can adjust itself as you raise or lower the sword. And once you get it, tighten her back down. So that's another thing to check. And then the last thing that I check to make sure these swords are running true and that they're not what I call pigeon-toed or bow-legged. That means they be pointing inside. Look like they're riding a horse all day. Look like an old cowboy. They be bow-legged. You want your swords nice and straight. Not too much pressure. You want them on the outside, even with the outside of your belt. And you want to make sure there's not a lot of pressure on there. And then just run a couple through and see what you got. Now, like I said, your mileage may vary. And what works for me may not work for you guys. But it will be a starting spot. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.